All right, it's media day. We are in the private school ranks, and I'm talking with Parish Episcopal Coach Daniel Novakov. Coach, I mean, we can't see your fingers right now, but we know you got 5 rings on them
Yeah.
somewhere, 5 in a row. And I'm not going to ask you if it ever gets old, but does last year's mean more or mean differently than the ones before, or how do you kind of differentiate between those titles that you won and the quest for a sixth straight?
Well, I mean, look, every year, the interesting thing about it is I think it changes from jubilation or joy to relief. Like it's become kind of the expectation and kind of what we do. And it become, each year we keep this thing going. The first time we lose is going to be an unmitigated disaster now, where at the beginning it was like we're just trying to climb the mountaintop. I think it gets harder and harder every year to stay there. And that's the challenge, is trying to do things that nobody's done, trying to make history and trying to keep this thing rolling for as long as we can. I watched the New England dynasty thing recently, and it's, you kind of watch the behind the scenes of that. And there's a lot of, not that we're at the same level they are, but there's a lot of similarities for what they're going through and kind of what you feel as you're going through this. It changes from being overly joyed and satisfied to climbing the mountain to now you want to do anything you can to stay there.
That's an interesting take on that, man. I don't know if I was expecting that because it's almost to the point where you don't really have that much time to celebrate. It sounds like your first inclination was, okay, we weren't the team that blew it, and maybe that
Yeah.
sets in with you after all the celebration. Then maybe on the bus, it's like, hey, you turn around and say, hey guys, we just won a state title, and it's like, yeah, we know we weren't the ones that lost it. So that's an
Uh,
interesting take on that.
The crazy thing is, I can tell you after at least the last couple of years, when the clock hits zero, you're excited for about 30 seconds, and you're immediately thinking about, all right, what's next year's team look like? How do we get back here? And you hear people say that all the time. You're like, yeah, right. There's no way you won a championship, and that was what you're thinking about, but it is. It's the first thing, you think about, at least for me, is next year. How do we get going? How do we get right back here next year?
I usually end off with this question, but since you kind of brought it up, to get yourself ready, you always put together a non-district schedule that's top notch. You play the
Uh-huh.
Alitos and the South Oak Cliffs. What do you have on the schedule for this year to get you prepared for that grueling kind of tap schedule?
So we added 2 district teams, so we lost 2 non-district games. But right now, I mean, we're still getting the contracts back. Right now, we have LEJ back, we have Episcopal back. We're still waiting on 2 other contracts to make sure. The district thing kind of threw everything for a loop. When they I guess there's a couple districts that changed and had protests or whatever, and so things opened up and things changed around. So we're still getting everything squared away for sure. But we know we have LBJ. We know we have Bel Air Episcopal back for sure next year.
And those are certainly quality teams from down in the middle part of the state.
Mhm.
I guess let's talk about you talking about your team. What we're talking about your district now that you brought it up. I mean, we're Jason Witten's got something going over there at Liberty Christian, and now
Yeah.
he's in with you guys. Is that just another? Because I talked to a coach, Rich McGuire, that was just down there at St. Thomas that you played, and he was talking about, I gotta really schedule hard because I don't know if I'm going to get the kind of comp I'm going to get in the playoffs in my district. Whereas you're going to see some teams in the Dallas Fort Worth area in your TAPS district that are quality, and now with Liberty Christian in there, it's going to make it even more tougher.
Yeah. I mean, the interesting thing over the 5-year run, we've never played the same team twice in the state championship game. So it kind of tells you that every year somebody has kind of jumped up and become the formidable competitor.
All right, talking about your team, let's talk about that offense. It's got to be good to have a 3-year starter coming back with Sawyer, a Division I recruit, and he's got weapons in the wide receiver with Bryson and Carson coming back. Talk about what you were looking for in that offense, because you do have to replace the Maddox Reeds of the world.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, anytime you have Sawyer back, for his final year, you feel pretty good about it because he's an unbelievable player, unbelievable person, great competitor. He's never lost a district game, never lost a playoff game in 3 years, which is incredible when you look back and think about it. And then the skill guys on the outside, most of them are returning. Obviously, the running back position that you alluded to, we lost Maddox, but we got some young guys that we think can step up and help us there. And then the main thing is just making sure we're shored up front. And we have we have the offensive line squared away. We lost some pretty good players up there, so that's kind of the focus, is getting that all squared away.
Well, we got 4 months to worry about that. So we'll catch up with you later. I appreciate you talking with me now, and let's try to get excited about the 6th state title if that happens.
Yes, sir. We appreciate it. We're going to try our best.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
All right. Appreciate you. Thanks for your time.